Meet the ancient tanks in this video.
Imagine standing on a sun-drenched plateau in the Syrian desert, the year 356 AD. The Roman infantry stand in a locked bronze shield wall, watching a massive dust cloud roll across the horizon. They expect the usual desert engagement: light horse archers, swift retreats, and hit-and-run skirmishes. While we wait for the dust to settle, I want to hear from you. Which ancient empire do you think fielded the most effective military? Let me know in the comments. As the haze parts, the light suddenly changes. The Romans see a blinding glare of polished, solid iron. Rank after rank of horsemen emerge in terrifying, silent unison, encased from head to toe in gleaming metal scales. This apparition was the Sasanian Asvārān, the Iron Giants who served as the elite armored fist of the Persian King of Kings. The previous Parthian Empire relied heavily on loose formations of light horse archers. While deadly in the open, their arrows often struggled to break a disciplined Roman infantry block, with projectiles simply bouncing off a well-timed shield wall. In 224 AD, a noble named Ardashir I overthrew the Parthians to establish the Sasanian Empire. He sought to rebuild the soul of Persia, envisioning a realm capable of challenging Rome's dominance in the east. Ardashir recruited the Azadan, the noble freemen of the Persian aristocracy, and offered them land and wealth in exchange for total loyalty. He transformed these warriors into a professional, standing heavy cavalry corps. To defeat Rome, Ardashir abandoned the old hit-and-run tactics of the desert. He needed a force capable of charging directly into a wall of spears and breaking it. Carrying a knight and his iron equipment into battle created a significant engineering problem. A standard horse would simply collapse under the weight of the required armor. In this relief, we see the colossal Nicaean war horse, draped in chainmail to function as an ancient tank. The rider wields the massive 12-foot kontos spear, so heavy he steered with his knees, using both hands to level the lance for impact. At a full charge, the kinetic energy of the Nicaean horse channeled directly through the kontos, allowing a single Asvārān knight to skewer two armored men at once. If the lance shattered, the knight drew a secondary arsenal attached to the saddle, a heavy mace or a double-edged broadsword designed specifically to crush Roman iron and bone. This combination of extreme weight, muscular horsepower, and dual-grip weaponry transformed the traditional cavalrymen into a mobile siege engine. The rider's protection consisted of hundreds of individual iron or bronze scales sewn onto a leather vest. This design allowed the knight to bend and swing his weapons while remaining nearly immune to standard arrows and sword slashes. Beyond the physical protection, the Sasanians utilized a calculated psychological design to break an enemy's resolve: the total concealment of the rider's face. The Asvārān wore iron or silver masks sculpted into calm, unblinking human expressions. When a Roman soldier looked at his attacker, he saw a cold, metallic stare rather than a human face. This union of total physical defense and an emotionless metallic visage forced the infantry to feel they were fighting something other than men, an army of iron giants that could not be killed. Behind the iron mask was the human reality of the Azadan. They were a highly educated class of noble freemen who viewed themselves as the spiritual guardians of the empire. Their identity was defined by the Zoroastrian faith, which framed the universe as a battlefield between Ahura Mazda, the Lord of Light and Truth, and the forces of darkness and deceit. From age 7, Azadan boys entered elite military academies. They were raised on 3 fundamental virtues: to ride with grace, to shoot with flawless precision, and to tell the absolute truth. Their battlefield code mandated that they never flee, never betray a commander, and always treat an honorable enemy with respect. To the Asvārān, warfare was a holy duty to uphold truth against the chaos of the outer world. They were the ultimate aristocratic elite, devoted to the glory of the land of Iran. The Sasanian assembly of heavy scale armor, massive stallions, lances, and a strict moral code of honor predates the medieval European knight by several centuries. Long before the legends of King Arthur, the Asvārān established an early blueprint for the armored noble elite in the Middle East, merging military mechanics with a rigid, faith-based system of chivalry. In Part 2, we will see what happened when this philosophically driven force finally collided with the immovable legions of Rome. We will follow the great Emperor Shapur II into the heart of the ancient world's most brutal battles to see the Iron Horsemen in action. The year is 359 AD, and the ground outside the fortress of Amida vibrates with the thundering rhythm of thousands of heavy hooves. A massive cloud of dust is swallowing the horizon. The Sasanian Emperor Shapur II has marched his vast army across the Mesopotamian plains. His objective is clear: violently rip back the eastern territories previously seized by the Roman Empire. Standing in his way are the colossal, heavily fortified stone walls and rounded towers of ancient Amida. Trapped inside those walls is a Roman soldier and historian named Ammianus Marcellinus. He watches in terror as the dust settles, revealing the Sasanian vanguard, the elite Asvārān cavalry. He writes that their close-fitting iron plates gleamed in perfect unison, moving like a single, terrifying machine. This siege sets up the ultimate clash of ancient warfare. It is the legendary heavy cavalry of the East staring down the heavy infantry of the West. The Romans are masters of defense. Their legions rely on highly disciplined, tightly overlapping infantry formations that have already conquered Europe, Greece, and Egypt. The core of this defense is the scudum. With a central handgrip and sturdy construction, overlapping scuda interlock to form a nearly impenetrable human brick wall. Conventional military logic dictated that any direct cavalry charge into a braced shield wall was mathematical suicide. The horses would simply impale themselves on Roman spears or break their momentum against the massive shields. Shapur II and his commanders realized that overcoming the scudum required more than just a charge. It required a maneuver that leveraged the weight of their horses against the specific width and discipline of the Roman formation. This diagram shows the three-phase maneuver the Asvārān used to destroy Roman infantry, the Hourglass Charge. Phase 1 begins with a suffocatingly wide line of cavalry, advancing at a slow, deliberate trot in absolute silence. In Phase 2, the wide line rapidly funnels inward, squeezing into a dense, razor-sharp wedge formation. Finally, Phase 3, the kinetic impact. The riders drive the full weight of their armored horses into a single point on the Roman line. Historical reliefs show the physical mechanics of this attack. The rider anchors the heavy two-handed Kanto's lance, utilizing the high-velocity momentum of his mount to shatter right through wood, chainmail, and bone. The moment the heavy lances puncture a hole in the formation, Sasanian lighter horse archers flood into the newly created gaps. They unleash thousands of arrows from the inside out, completely routing the legions. The Hourglass Charge married intense psychological pressure with concentrated kinetic force, providing the Sasanians with a reliable method to neutralize Rome's greatest tactical advantage. In 363 AD, the ambitious Roman Emperor Julian the Apostate launches a massive counter-invasion. His target is Ctesiphon, the towering brick capital of the Sasanian Empire. Shapur II responds with extreme asymmetrical logistics. He orders his own armies to burn Sasanian crops and poison the wells, leaving the advancing Romans to starve under the blistering desert heat. Hungry and exhausted, Julian's legions are forced into a chaotic retreat northward along the Tigris River, constantly harassed by Sasanian hit-and-run attacks. The harassment peaks at the Battle of Samarra. In the chaos of a dense, swirling sandstorm, Emperor Julian rushes out of his tent to rally his panicking troops, completely forgetting to strap on his armored breastplate. Out of the blinding dust, an Asvārān knight lunges forward. His heavy spear strikes Julian directly in the side, mortally wounding the Roman emperor. Slaying the emperor on the battlefield forced Rome into a massive territorial surrender. For the next 2 centuries, the presence of the Asvārāns served as the primary deterrent against Roman expansion into the heart of Persia. But this era of dominance eventually reached a breaking point. By the early 7th century, both the Roman and Sasanian empires have exhausted themselves fighting a devastating 20-year total war. This chart highlights the dire economic reality of the era. The treasuries of both superpowers are nearly empty, and their elite nobility is depleted. Meanwhile, a massive new spike in military power rises from the southern deserts, the Arab Caliphate. The Muslim Arab armies bring a completely different style of warfare. They are fast, lightly armored, and driven by immense spiritual fervor. The two forces collide in 636 AD at the Battle of Al-Qadisiyah. Across these dry, unforgiving desert mounds, the heavy, rigid armor of the remaining Sasanian knights becomes a fatal liability against agile, light cavalry. A massive, days-long dust storm blows directly into the silver masks of the Asvārān, blinding them. The nimble Arab infantry exploit the exhaustion of the heavy horses, slipping underneath their bellies to slash their saddle straps and pull the riders down. The legendary Persian general Rustam falls in the chaos. The battle is lost, proving that even the most perfect military machine shatters when pushed past the limits of its resources and environment. The Sasanian Empire falls, but the master cavalrymen do not vanish. The surviving knights are integrated into the elite units of the expanding Islamic empires. They pass down centuries of deeply protected knowledge, proprietary horse breeding techniques, intricate armor designs, and tactical wisdom forged on the Mesopotamian plains. Centuries before the rise of the European knight, the Asvārān were already perfecting the template: heavy horse breeding, the two-handed lance, and a code of aristocratic truth and honor. Many of the technical and cultural hallmarks we associate with medieval chivalry appear first here, in the heavy cavalry of the Sasanians. The iron giants of Iran Shar served as the vital bridge linking ancient warfare to the medieval era. Long after their empire faded into the sand, the thundering hooves of the Asvārān left a permanent architectural print on the art of war.